Now my first year, no textbooks, no worksheets. Now I'm going into a high school teaching 9th grade, and I decided that a high school kid, what does a high school kid think a real teacher is? To a high school kid, the real teacher gets the textbook out, says over in chapter 1, section 1, math teacher gives a worksheet, you do it, you get a quiz at the end of the week, looks kind of like the worksheet, you do that, and if you get a good grade, that teacher's a good teacher. So I said that's what they want, that's what they're expecting. I'll give them that at first. I got to win them over first. I'm not going to go in wacky the first week. I'm not. So I give up a week of wackiness to win them over, which is fine. So the textbooks, my first year when I finally gave out the textbooks in like November, my classes cheered. Those 6th graders were cheering because this guy finally kind of did something that's sort of real teacher-ish. So I gave out the textbooks my second year on the first day. I gave out worksheets, and you might say, "Oh man, those veteran teachers are lazy. That's what they do." Yeah. Veteran teachers are not lazy. They know that the school year is a marathon. Summer school is a sprint. You got to be fun every 2 seconds. It's a marathon. You got to pace yourself. You got to learn the kids' names. You got to do all that. So I became very, very traditional. And that was the idea is not to do that for the whole time. And as you'll see, I didn't do it for the whole time. But I gave it to them. So I was a lot more. I was totally traditional. I'm encouraging you to be more traditional than you thought you would be. So the C word, conform to their expectations. That was bad. And then learning. They want to learn. You're a good teacher. You're doing the real teacher, what good teachers do. But then, did they learn? Now, you might do something wacky, write a skit about your fractions, and they do it, and you give them all A's because they showed applied learning, and you think they learned. That's not important. Well, it is important that they learn, but what's more important in the first week is that they think they've learned. Not that you think they've learned. I'd rather there's a lesson where the kid didn't learn but thinks he did, than did but thinks he didn't, at least in the beginning, even though I can't think of a possible lesson where they think they did but didn't. But if there was, I take that on the first day because they need to think you're a good teacher and a real teacher and someone they can learn from. Then they'll listen to you. The worksheets, 20-question worksheets, boring. Not to a kid who's never gotten all 20 questions right before. I taught pretty well in the traditional way. The kid got all 20 questions right. Suddenly they're really happy. End of the week I give a quiz. I know everyone's going to get a 90 on it, and they do. Because it was like the worksheets, and I knew I would graded them and help them. And now they got 90 on their fridge, and I'm a great teacher. After 1 week, I convinced them I'm a great teacher. So now to move on. Oh yeah, I gave out the index cards, real teachers, index cards. I didn't need index cards, I had the class list. Didn't matter. I wanted to look like and act like a real teacher. The first day, boring. My first day, I made it very boring, because when I'm thinking, no lesson's going to make every kid excited, So why not have everyone learn on the first day? Sometimes it's just going to be boring, and that's the way it goes. Because I can't be fun for every kid, every lesson, impossible. So why not make the first day, well, it's only an hour, elementary is a little different, but I made the first day, here, do the cards, here's your diagnostic test, whole period it takes, and I learned the names during the first day. No group work for the first 2 weeks for me, for sure, because I got to be sure that every kid is learning and thinks they're learning and doesn't think the class is for playing. Now, the next thing, discipline like a teacher. I still, even though I won their respect by being conforming and getting the 90s on their first test, still got to do some things. The kids are going to test you. As a new teacher at that school, my first consequence, which was not listed anywhere, was give a teacher look. Now, you got to practice that. Teachers just have it because they taught. But you need to practice your teacher look. What does it look like? Mine, it's fast. It's faster than you figure. As a kid, he's talking, you kind of, it's kind of like a squinty, you just kind of look. It's not long. If you do it for too long, what are you looking at? You just kind of. Now you got to practice your teacher look in the mirror, because if you got the one eyebrow up here and the other one down here, and you think that's an effective teacher look, it's not. So I was always this kind of squinty teacher look. You've done the teacher look. You're driving and someone cuts you off and you drive by them and you go. Or in New York, you're walking down the street and you have the light, green light, and there's a car coming kind of fast. You know it's going to stop, but you still. Still do that one? That is the teacher look. They use to practice it in the mirror. Other non-verbal things, non-confrontation. I did a lot of tapping, and doing this and going like that. But non-confrontation, a lot of non-verbal stuff. I used to be able to get kids to change their seats. I'd be like, okay, you're going to sit here, then you got to turn around and pray to God the kid moves. There's no other way to get a kid to move his seat. So that worked because they respected me first. Once they respect you, they will follow these other things. I could have done a teacher look all day in my first year. They wouldn't have done anything. Teacher persona. You are going to have to be like what are you going to be like as a teacher? You know, some people say, oh, you got to just be yourself. You know, the kids are going to know. Be yourself is terrible advice. Who is yourself, first of all? But even beyond that, who told you that? Because being yourself worked for them, so you don't have to be yourself, you have to be them, to be sure. Because is yourself someone who just stands in front of a class and 35 middle school kids are going to sit there and listen? I decided being myself wasn't going to work. My second year, I needed a new persona. One thing I knew, no more yelling, ever again. For me, that meant, unfortunately, I had like, I felt if you smile, you have to yell. Like, you open yourself up for that. So I said, no more yelling, which means no more smiling, ever. So, no smiling. So that was one thing. Now, who am I going to be? I don't know. I'm kind of like neutral. I don't know what to be. My first year, I remember thinking, oh, I could be anyone I want. You know, I could be cool. Like, I remember saying the same thing before the first day of college. Didn't work then. So my second year, I say I'm going to be neutral. So I don't know what to do. So I'm just kind of like no emotion, like a robot. And some of you, I still have it when I'm around like new people. Like you came in and saw me here, you know, just kind of like walking around, just kind of looking at my watch. No one approached me. No one came up to me and said, I'm going to be your best student. People were a little scared of me. You know, talked in complete mind. So my eyes always give me away as being too nice. So I was in a constant, not a teacher, this is, teacher look is this is red neutral, and this is like, good job. So I didn't know how to act. And then it came to me. I'm doing this thing, you know, where I'm never smiling and I'm monotone. I'm teaching pretty well. Even my lessons were kind of like funny in that they had like funny like motivation. So I never laughed. Smiling. I would do math calculations in my head sometimes, and kids would get all excited, and I realized they're going to think, first I was worried, you know, they're going to think I'm a nerd when I get to this high school, but they were like, oh, he's smart, he's smart. So I said, hey, you know what, if they're going to think I'm a nerd, I'll one-up them. I'll be the biggest nerd they ever saw. She's like a freaky stud nerd.